Hi guys, welcome back to our channel.
Now over the years I have accumulated a couple guitars. I certainly can't say it's a collection, but every one of my guitars has a little story. Now this guitar here hasn't been played a whole lot over the last 20 years. My grandfather picked it up. He picked it up as a $5 guitar. He picked it up, he had a route that he went around to see customers, and this thing was sitting on the side, and the kids were playing with it. The kids were playing with it, and he got it, and he picked it up, and he held on to it probably another 20 years before I said anything about it. And so I asked him about it, and he said we could put some strings on it, and I started putting some strings on it. We started trying to get it tuned, but we couldn't get it tuned. We couldn't keep it tuned because there's a crack. There's a crack right here in the bass. You can't see it from here, but there's a crack right here on the bridge. And every time we would tune it, it would go out of tune. So, you know, when my grandfather found out there was a crack on there, he told me throw it away. It wasn't worth keeping. And I didn't throw it away. I kind of put it aside. A few years later, I decided I wanted to try to glue that. So I glued that bridge, and then I turned around and put a screw right here. You can hardly see it maybe from there, but a screw right here and in here. Okay. So there's a little screw there. See where that screw is not? It's not very attractive. It looks kind of stupid, and actually, you know, it kind of goes against there. So I certainly can't play anything up in here, but there's a crack right there in the bridge, and I glued that, and so far it's held up pretty good. Keeps a good tone. I kind of like it. It's kind of a smaller guitar. You know, with my big hands, I can get around the bass, get around here and do some good stuff. You know, but I was wondering where it was at, where it come from, and then I started looking in here, and I found out it had a red tag in there. Can you get in there and see if you can see that red tag? Where's the there's a red tag in the back there, right there, and there's a red tag, and that has FG75. And so I started searching online, and that over here is my granddaddy's guitar. This one right here is my grandfather's guitar. I didn't realize they were pretty much brothers. That one was a 130, and this is a 75. Now, obviously there's some issues in it and so forth, but you know, if there wasn't as much issues, this guitar would be worth more than the one that I've been playing for years and years. That was my grandfather's. Now, what happened was, at the time, this was made in Japan before they started making them in China. The one right there, that one was made in China, and this one was made in Japan. And so this one was made in 1969. I found that out just recently, and that this was a higher quality or more rarer than the other one. But so we were trying to figure out where that one is, and what they did is, after they stopped making them in Japan, they took all the parts and they sent them to China. And so that one actually has several different serial numbers, because there's one on the base block, and there's one underneath the pegboard, whereas this one only has it against the pegboard. So it was kind of interesting to find out this one was built in 69, this one built in 69, and that one was built in 74, but they kind of have interchangeable parts and so forth, and so that was kind of fun to do that. I also have another one. I have another one that we had to repair too. It's this one here. It's right over here. It's this one here. You look in the back, it's a mahogany back, kind of you know, molded back. But this is the one I got in Philippines. Yes. I bought this in the Philippines when I met my wife, and my granddaddy went over there. My granddaddy went over to the Philippines, and he had to have one because the Philippines, especially in Cebu, is world renowned for their handmade guitars. So this is handmade in the Philippines. I have the gentleman's name inside of it right there. And so when we got this back, we started trying to tune it to our other guitars, and we could not seem to get it tuned. And my grandfather every week would try to tune it and try to tune it, and then the neck broke. The neck broke. It shattered right in here. You can see a little bit of right there. You can see a little bit of this where it had to be repaired, and we didn't understand what was going on. And so I had a friend of mine that builds guitars here in Greenville, and he agreed to work on it in trade for some private lessons at my martial arts academy. And so he worked on this thing, and he was halfway into repairing this guitar that we had broke because it would not tune to the other guitars. And he was halfway through it, and then he found out that he didn't recognize the spacing of the neck, and so he searched and he found out that this wasn't a regular guitar. It was a baritone guitar, and so each of the notes have to be tuned to a different note than versus a standard guitar we have in America. So I thought that was kind of cool. I mean, it's an okay thing. It probably looks better than it actually sounds, but it was kind of fun to have something that's complete. So if I want to play, if I want to play with somebody else that's playing in D, I'm gonna have to figure out what chord this one would be in, because this is not a regular one. It's a baritone. But I'm glad we were able to find out and was able to repair it, and it's obviously a favorite of mine, especially because it comes from the Philippines. So.